Survival mode is my favorite way to play Fallout 4. The additional immersion and the slower pace feels like the best way to play the game. Plus, who doesn't like dying all the time? Well, if you want to avoid dying and succeed in survival mode, here is everything you need to know. Let's go! Let me know any survival mode tips you have in the comments down below that I've missed. Now, what's different about survival mode? There is a fair few things, and I've covered them in the video I actually put out the other day if you want a bit more of a breakdown. Like, the TLDR is that there is hunger, thirst, and exhaustion. Enemies deal more damage, you deal more damage, and you can't fast travel. Now, the very first decision you make when you do boot up the game and enable the survival mode is picking those special stats. You'll make this in any mode anyway. It's actually more important here because those perks are really important to make sure that you've got a solid base for your special stats at the start of the game, so you're not wasting perks on the actual special stats to get specific perks that you need. I would recommend to start out something like what I have here, being 3 strength for the armorer perk, 4 perception for locksmith, at least 3 endurance for lead belly and life giver, though the extra HP from endurance is quite important later on, charisma 4 for lone wanderer and attack dog, and intelligence 5 for all of those juicy intelligence perks. There's plenty of good ones plus the XP. Agility 3 and luck 1 for fortune finder really is all you need. Also, don't forget that there is a special book in Sean's room if you want an extra special stat for the start of the game. You can put your special stats however you like. That's more or less what I like to do, that you can definitely pump more endurance because it is really important for as you get further in the game. Now, early game, once you're out of the vault and you're sort of exploring and everything, the best advice is don't go to Concord. Concord is hard, right? You've got the Raiders, obviously the Deathclaw that comes down. You really want to spend those initial hours exploring, hanging around Sanctuary and the surrounding areas and building up your food, your water resources, your level, and your gear. Just don't follow those quests like you typically would in normal mode. Now, I don't particularly want to recommend this, but one of the very first videos I made on this channel is actually a Fallout 4 survival mode early game tips that covers specifically that topic in depth. It's pretty awful quality like today, but if you want to go back and get some good tips that are still relevant, those tips in that video are actually good. It's just like, you know, a young Norza who has poor audio quality, poor editing, all that good stuff. I will link it here, but like, don't judge me! Let's talk about the best perks for survival mode. Now, I have a video that breaks down the best perks for any playthrough, including some amazing perks like Lone Vault Wanderer for extra damage resistance and carry weight, Life Giver for HP and regen. So I'm not going to cover that stuff in this video as I've already done it in that video, but there are some specific perks that are really good for survival mode. At Endurance 2, you can get Lead Belly. This will lower the amount of radiation you'll get from eating and drinking. Once you have maxed this out, you'll then take no radiation from eating and drinking. Absolutely great perk for survival mode because you are going to constantly be eating and drinking, and if you are running out of food and water, especially on longer journeys, then there are plenty of times throughout the game and survival mode where, you know, you've got to travel a far way across the map, and if you run out of resources, you can then consume anything you find without having to worry about that radiation you take, because consuming right away will cause thirst, and then you're sort of stuck in a loop there as well. Now, the local leader is a fantastic perk at Charisma 6. Now, it's a little bit expensive to invest in early, but it does really come in handy. Now, as you can't fast travel, you're essentially stuck with whatever like junk and resources you have at each settlement that you're close to, right? Any sort of exploration you do and finding junk, you bring them to that settlement. At rank 1 for local leader, you can create supply lines between your settlements. Now, these will allow you to travel food and water and junk, whatever, between your main settlements. Now, obviously at rank 2, you'll then be able to craft like your crafting stations at any settlements, which you'll absolutely need to do because you can't just quickly fast travel back to your main base that has all the crafting stations and quickly, you know, bang together a new gun and then travel back, right? So being able to create them wherever you are and sort of set up home bases at different locations on the map is really valuable, and then being able to ship any of your resources between them is also fantastic. At Agility 6, you can get Moving Target. Now, this will give you damage resistance and energy resistance while you're sprinting. Now, it's not super valuable unless you are investing in the Agility line, but if you are investing in the line, I do recommend picking this up because you will run away from combat. It definitely happens situations where you're like, oh crap, I cannot beat this fight, and you're going to run away, that extra resistance isn't actually that bad. Another really good benefit here is in the intelligence line is Chemist. Now this will allow you to craft like the antibiotics that you need to heal illnesses, which illnesses can be quite punishing, especially if you've got a lot of them and you can't find a doctor close by, or you have to travel to find one. Outside of the antibodies benefit to being able to craft that at any of the chemical stations, you've also got the benefit of chems lasting longer. Now if you combo this with chem resistance in the endurance line, you can then stop yourself from actually getting any addictions, which in turn just essentially gives you free buffs from all of these drugs that you can craft and find throughout the world, which is really, really valuable for survival mode, like reducing the amount of damage you do take as well as increasing the damage you deal for something like Psycho. Like, can't go wrong there. I would also recommend investing into some sort of sneak in the agility line as well at some point, not only because if you crouch you can actually tell if your enemies are caution, danger, whatever, if the enemies are near you, but it allows you to sneak past enemies, avoid triggering traps as well, like if you've leveled up those perks, which is literally like will one-shot you in survival mode sometimes, and it does really suck to like stumble across a mine and just instantly die. It's kind of depressing. But let's go through some tips for survival mode specifically. Fill empty bottles in Vault 111 for purified water. You can fill bottles in any water, like if you want dirty water, etc. But in Vault 11, any glasses and bottles you pick up, which there are plenty at the very start of the game, if you've got survival mode turned on, you can fill them there for purified water, which is super easy to grab. Spamming the VATS button is so valuable. Not only will it locate enemies for you, even if you've got like 0% chance of hitting them, it will actually highlight mines as well. So you can use this to find mines, especially those hidden ones that will blow you up. Also, if you like what we do here, consider hitting that like button or subscribing, or the membership program. For just $1, you can get early access to videos like this and all of my other guides, build videos, and those cheeky long form essays we do. Plus, there are other benefits like members only channels in the Discord, merch, and more. So if you like what we do here, please consider hitting that join button or subscribing, as it helps me more than you know. But enough of that, back to the video. Sleeping is very important. You should absolutely be sleeping all of the time. It's the only way to create actual legitimate save files. Now, depending on the type of bed, you'll only be able to say sleep for 3 hours in a sleeping bag, or I think it's like 5 for dirty mattresses. That's okay. It's not necessarily going to fill up your entire, like exhaustion or fatigue bar if you are fatigued. But the option there, like anytime you come across them, just sleep to create that save file, because you honestly never know when you're going to trigger a trap or just like die and you're like, whoops, it turns out I should have slept at that bed because my last save was like 40 minutes ago. Build up some of your settlements with the essentials, right? Like food, water, and a bed obviously are fantastic. We've already talked about local leader and the importance there, but you're going to essentially be creating like home bases. A good example of this is like having Sanctuary as like your home base for that top left corner, and then the Hangman's Alley as like your central base, like near Diamond City, because it is so close to Diamond City. It's a really central location you can easily get to build up for that reason. Razor Grain is great in survival mode, because if you have dirty water, and you'll find a ton of dirty water, you can make noodle cups. Now, noodle cups will not only give you hunger, but they also give you thirst, which are really valuable to have. Refreshing beverages are also great. It will take you a while to get these. They're sort of more of a late game item, but essentially what you can do with these is they'll heal you a little bit, they'll remove rads, and they also remove addictions as well as like thirst. So fantastic late game item, though they do require a bit of investment to make, but if you can make them, really valuable to do. Now, in terms of what food and things to consume, like soups will give you both hunger and thirst, and generally speaking, the more expensive the food is, the more hunger it will recover. Though I kind of just think like just consume whatever you've got, really. Like I wouldn't be too selective, because sometimes you don't have the option to, but definitely cook food first. Like if you've got some mole rat meat or something, right? Make sure you cook it to get rid of the radiation, unless you've maxed out the lead belly perk. Pick 1 or 2 weapons and have a melee weapon backup in case you run out of ammo, and only use those, and only pick up ammo for those weapons. Ammo does have weight here, so obviously you want to use that weight for more important things, but this also allows you to get the damage perks for those specific weapons, right? Like let's say you're using a non-automatic rifle, so you grab Rifleman, or an automatic one for Commando, whatever that option is that you personally choose to do. But when thinking about the weapon stuff you're going to use, you want to keep your weapon pool low, have a melee backup just in case you absolutely need something, and then also consider an ammo type that's very common to find, right? Like You know, obviously 38 rounds are everywhere, but 10 mil is also very common. So consider having at least one of those main weapons you're using being a very common ammo type. So you'll always be able to find it throughout the world rather than having to say buy it or, you know, travel back, whatever. If you're having a really hard time, like if you're stuck like in an area or you're going to be having a hard fight, don't hold back on consuming drugs, because you can use Jet to slow down time, Psycho to increase your damage, what have you. Consuming drugs absolutely really beneficial to help you stay alive. It's much better to stay alive and get addicted to chems than die and lose 30 minutes of your save file. Doctors are also really valuable in survival mode, and knowing where you can find doctors is also great. Like, they can cure those addictions we just talked about. Also, for illnesses that you can pick up, they can clear those for you as well. Now, you'll probably never use them in normal mode, but it's just worth noting, like if you come across them, like the one in Diamond City, right, just remembering that they do exist in the world, and they can typically find them at most of the like major town settlement places. Pre-war money is one of the only remaining items without weight in survival mode, and it can be sold for a decent amount of caps. Absolutely pick up any and all pre-war money you find and sell it to make caps, because you can't use that ammo trick that you can do in normal mode because ammo has weight now. So this is a great way to actually generate caps, other than, you know, selling purified water, which you do kind of need for yourself as well. Now, you can use mods in survival mode to make things easier, right? Obviously, just be mindful with the next gen update that certain mods are no longer working, but I personally prefer the vanilla experience. You can get some cheeky carry weight if you buy the backpacks from the Creation Club for a couple of dollars. I do kind of recommend this, like it's totally up to you. You don't have to, but having the backpack, not only for the carry weight, but also the mods you can actually put on it, like you can put medic on it to just give you a passive HP regen, for example, are really valuable to have. It also fits the aesthetic and the theme of survival mode, right? You know, you've got your backpack that you can wear. Like, I actually do kind of like it. So that's up to you though, right? Like, you don't have to do that, but I just thought I'd mention it here at the end of the video. But thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.